What's up all you fantastic dudes and dudettes, Toybiz here, and I'm back in again to give you guys another retro shiz-ish type video today. We're going to be looking at past up to the present Fantastic Four action figures. And if you don't know who Jack Kirby or the Fantastic Four are, well then you need to start reading more comic books. But I digress, a lot of Fantastic Four figures have been made. These are most of the ones from my personal collection. So we'll just have some fun, sit back, relax, pour yourself a cup of coffee. This is the Who FAN4STIC'S Best. To start in the Toy Biz era of the Fantastic Four, and these were just very basic action figures, but being a Spider-Man the Animated Series collector, I of course had to gravitate more into Marvel's other realm, and these specifically coming from that Marvel's Power Hour that saw the Fantastic Four teamed up with Iron Man, so it had that little bit of a comic book cartoon edge to it, especially in the packaging. But Thing was just Thing, and I was very happy to have him along with Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. This guy had a little bit of a cool gimmick to him. You pulled a ripcord on the back and his chest would light up, and I always thought that was a really cool, I like when toys have that sort of play feature to it. Of course, yeah, nowadays I wouldn't necessarily like a huge ripcord coming out the back of a Fantastic Four, but for back in the day, that was a lot of fun. Same with Mr. Fantastic. He was billed as having very stretchy arms. The shoulders didn't move. He had just very rubbery appendages, and it worked. It was fun. Couldn't really stretch that much, but of course over time, nowadays, he's gotten a little bit yellow, and he's starting to show his cracks, unfortunately. But you know what? He still looks pretty cool and pretty much spot on to Reed Richards. I got to give it to him on that. Invisible Woman, another great figure. There were several released. This one in the face didn't fare too well, but she does have that classic blue, and I really feel like the four of these together match up the best. The later Johnny Storm that I'll show you, he's got the right costume, right color going on, but he just works better when he's on fire, I think. That's just me. But I would say, in all honesty, this Invisible Woman's face has seen better days. Another one of the things in my collection is him in his bodysuit, and foregoing more articulation in the arms and legs, he does have wrist rotation, head rotation, and waist. Came with a giant purple base that exploded, and it was a very cool thing. I like the size of this guy. He's a little bit bigger than the previous Thing we had just gone over. A little bit more massive, and I expect that from a good Thing figure, and he does fit in with the blues and everything with the other Fantastic Four figures. This particular Johnny Storm is one of those where he's in partial mid-transformation. He works. Even as a kid, though, he has some really wonky upper body rotation. His arms are out, but he doesn't really look like he's flying or doing much of anything. To be honest, it kind of just looks like a dude on fire. Moving from Toy Biz into now the Toy Biz Marvel Legends with a little bit of Hasbro thrown in. There were, again, a lot of Fantastic Four figures, but these ones were always very near and dear to me. This guy pertaining to look more like the Jack Kirby style artwork from the very first Thing appearance. Came with a little shuttle that he could ride, part of like that legendary rider sort of deal. He looks very cool. He's a little bit old school now, but I still love that face, and I just love this thing. He's awesome looking. Same with this Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. A little bit darker tone. This looks a little bit comic booky. I just wish it was maybe just a tad more blue, and he does have some elven ears, but because this is one of my first Marvel Legends type Fantastic Four figure, oh my god, the articulation's amazing. It's just very near and dear to me, but you can see it. He is just missing his pipe. That would be amazing, but he really hasn't aged all too well. Same with this Johnny Storm. Now, this Johnny has a different blue scheme to me, and he does come into the Hasbro realm of Marvel Legends as part of a 2-pack with his sister, which we'll see in just a second. Again, having a new Johnny Storm, being like, oh, cool, he's got these fire effect all over him, and he just looked rad. But nowadays, we are starting to know better as far as what we could get. This Sue Storm, much like a lot of the Sue Storms, man, they don't fare well in the face. A really cool looking figure. She's got a classic-ish type costume going on. But again, just this 2-pack was exciting, but didn't really come with much of anything. And you expect powers and everything else, but it was just the face, unfortunately, for Sue Storm. doesn't really nail it home for her. Now, this guy was a bit cooler, I will say. Now, this Fantastic Four slash Human Torch slash, the Human Torch, you could say, fits for Fantastic Four or the original android from Marvel when they first kind of started out. He does look comic book through and through. I love the lines. I love the face sculpt. I still think this dude holds up. I like this one a lot. The movies, however, with the sequel, the original movies, we're not even going into FAN4STIC'S territory, where Chris Evans was the Human Torch. This guy's cool. He's got a light-up feature to him. Again, he's a little bit gummy in some areas. He holds up, but not exactly my favorite one. He was cool for back in the day, but it just, nowadays, you know what I mean. But they all seem to fit rather nicely. The blues might be off, but they're still pretty much in good scale with one another. And for being old school, they're not bad. Now, this guy in particular is the Inhuman Torch, and he comes from the House of M Marvel Legends box set, and I highly recommend this guy. This guy is awesome, and again, from the House of M storyline, he joins the It and Doctor Doom and the Invincible Woman. If only we can get the Invincible Woman, that would be very cool. But this guy, he's got that Ghost Rider look to him. Just a demon with wings, man. He's got some articulated wings. The sculpt is awesome. The paint is awesome. He is just a very exciting figure. And if you're more for the Fantastic Four type characters, then this guy is just a really cool alternate reality. And like I said, he came in a box set with the It figure. And of course, that's the House of M take on the Thing. This was a completely new sculpt as well. Giant figure, heavy, well articulated, but just a really decrepit, sad looking Thing as the It. But you got to give it to him on the sculpt on this guy. He is just very exciting. And like I said, bulky, massive, totally outside the realm of the usual Marvel Legends type characters we're getting. But it's that face. The face is just like sad puppy dog, that poor It. But in showing how he scales with the other one, he is one of the largest things, It's, you know what I mean, of that era. And that is very cool. And like I had previously just mentioned, if we could only get the Invincible Woman, we'd have a really cool House of M Fearsome 4, and I would really like that. If you didn't know that storyline, definitely go and check it out. Hey, Marvel, Hasbro, if you're listening, Invincible Woman, very cool. Would love to have this and really have a cool sort of House of M completed team. And then after a very long hiatus, Marvel Legends returned into the Fantastic Four avenue with a bunch of Walgreens exclusives. This Thing, as everyone would agree, was one of my top figures for 2018. He is an amazing figure. He's huge. He's exactly what you want to see from a Thing, and you know what Marvel Legends can deliver when they want to do a really huge figure. Extra hands, extra heads. He is one of the largest Marvel Legends Thing figures, and Toybiz and everything else unleashed. Reed Richards was no different. Finally, we had the iconic Reed Richards in a very classic Jack Kirby styled uniform. This guy looks amazing. Highly recommend him. Comes with an accessory, sort of bendy wire hands, and just really evoked the old Toybiz, the original looking Mr. Fantastic that I had, even almost down to the feet. They have very similar feet, oddly enough. Go check that out. But in comparing him with Toybiz's other offerings, you can say safely this Mr. Fantastic is the best, along with this Invisible Woman. Again, another Walgreens exclusive, very much evocative of Jack Kirby's work. The head, finally they nailed the head portrait. She's a very gorgeous looking Sue Storm. And in pairing her up with her past Invisible Woman incarnations, you could say that she definitely takes the cake, although a lot of people would prefer, including myself, to just have that extra arm where it was non-invisible, just to kind of suppress the anxiety of our craziness. Of course, our last figure is Johnny Storm, and even though he's not in the traditional blue and black costume, he is essentially just another man on fire, but it is pretty well done, coming with several flame accessories. If you wanted to buy a separate Mr. Fantastic, you could in fact pop the head off and replace it with this and have a total flush-looking costume of the four, but again, pairing him up with past incarnations of Johnny Storm, this one definitely still sets the contest on fire. Which brings us to why this particular video was made. We got a new wave of actual Fantastic Four Marvel Legends with some new costumes, new head sculpts, and Thing is no different. He looks pretty good. It's a different shade of orange from the previous release. Yes, he's got some new trunks going on and a little bit just... I almost got like a glass-eyed looking head, but then I think that it's just on mine. But in pairing him up with the other Fantastic Four iterations, you can see it's the same exact body type as the Walgreens version as Thing, but it's a different paint scheme, and he does look nice. Same with Mr. Fantastic. The new styled costumes, this time he's coming very rugged, a very bearded Reed Richards, and that's pretty cool. While I wasn't exactly excited for these types of costumes, you can see that in kind of joining these two up, you can complete quite the Fantastic Four look. And for Fantastic Four fanatics, I think you're definitely going to like these. We got a really cool Johnny Storm human head this time, non-fire, if you will. And that can actually be placed on the old figure, new figure. I'll show you in just a second. But again, nailing the costume this time, and even Johnny Storm's got some good butterfly joints. The head portraits do actually match up, whether it's on fire or not. And like I said, you can swap the heads. You can put it on the Reed Richards body if you want a traditional costume. Again, while I'm not a huge fan of this particular look, the costumes for the Fantastic Four, it's really cool to have a different Johnny Storm on your shelf. Again, with Sue Storm and being a very gorgeous woman, I would say that they nailed yet another really cool looking head portrait for her. Really wispy hair. The costume fits her well. They're all very uniform, and if you wanted to, you could interswap the heads on the different costumes. I think between the Walgreens to this one, they are definitely the best of the Sue Storms. And again, you can swap any of the heads between any of these characters, and they do look really cool, and they do fix nicely, being that the ball joints are all the same. Plus, it's kind of fun just to kind of match them up, do all the good stuff. And if you really want to get obscure, this is the Marvel's fantastic favorite covers, iconic covers statue that they did. They did several of these, but this is the Fantastic Four fighting the Mole Man creature from one of their very first comic book appearances. And it's a very just awesome piece for your collection. Very eye-catching, a good conversation starter. I highly recommend this. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about all these Fantastic Four figures. Do you have any of these? Do you want some of these? Have you gotten the Walgreens ones, the new ones from Marvel Legends, any of the old Toy Biz? Comment below. Let me know. Let's talk everything Fantastic Four. Which Fantastic Four figures are your favorite? Let me know. Did I cover any of them, or do you still have some to get? I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, remember that there are many Fantastic Four figures to be had, but only those that matter to you are the ones that truly matter. And when they do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.